Welcome to the final session of today on migration on the policy agenda, Who is Talking with Migrants in the Silk Routes, featuring perspectives from both the Silk Routes countries and the European Union. We will be discussing the inclusion of migrants' voices in policy making and programming. I am Sedef, the regional coordinator of ICMPD for the Silk Routes region. Today I have two speakers joining me, Mr. Kashif Noor, Director-General of the Bureau of Emigration and Overseas Employment in Pakistan, and Mr. Francesco Luciani, Head of Unit of Migration and Employment, Directorate-General for International Cooperation and Development from the European Commission. As always, you can also follow this ongoing discussion on Twitter using the hashtag #ViennaMigConf. I have been working in the area of migration myself, international migration, for more than 20 years. And quite strikingly, I was asked maybe only once or twice the question, when did you last speak with a migrant? Migration is high on the agenda globally and in Europe. Politicians, policymakers, experts, decision makers gather together to make decisions, design policy, prepare programs, and launch initiatives concerning migration and for migrants. But do we talk sufficiently with the migrants themselves? What opportunities exist for the migrants to be heard? And do we really want to hear them? In a context of constant change, and now at times of a global pandemic and the associated global agenda crisis, the inclusion of migrants' voices in policy making and programming of interventions can be even more challenging than usual. But the question remains, does what we plan at multilateral level, at regional level, and also at national level resonate with the migrants at the local level, with people on the move along the Silk Routes? To hear the migrants' voices along the Silk Routes and set the context, I would like us to watch this short video with three migrants talking about the reasons why they have migrated, how the outcome of their migration journeys, and their expectations.
सलान है और मैंने VTI से मोबाइल रिपेयरिंग का कोर्स किया है। मैंने अपने दोस्त के साथ मिलकर गैर कानूनी तरीके से यूरोप ममालिक में जाने का इरादा किया, क्योंकि मुझे जैसा कि मैंने देखा कि वहाँ पे जब एक बंदा पहुँच जाता है तो वो ज़्यादा पैसे कमा के उसकी लाइफ सेट हो जाती है। इसके अलावा मैं समझता हूँ कि यूरोपीय ममालिक की गवर्नमेंट को मुझ जैसे कम पढ़े लिखे और कम हुनरमंद पाकिस्तानियों के लिए रोज़गार के मौक़ों की फ्राहमी में वीज़ा के हसूल के लिए अपनी पॉलिसियों में नरमी करनी चाहिए। अरब ममालिक में जॉब के हसूल के लिए ब्यूरो की वेबसाइट पे मुख्तलिफ़ अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ आती हैं, तो इस तरह का जो है ना यूरोपीय यूनियन की तरफ से भी कोई प्लेटफॉर्म होना चाहिए जिससे मुझ जैसे कम हुनरमंद और कम पढ़े लिखे पाकिस्तानी बआसानी से रोज़गार तलाश कर सके और इस गैर कानूनी हिजरत को रोका जा सके या कम से कम किया जा सके।
আমি মোহাম্মদ জসিমউদ্দিন 21 নং বাবুডিয়া ইউনিয়নের 6 নং ওয়ার্ডের সদস্য। আমি দীর্ঘ 5 বছর পূর্বে আমি সৌদি আরব চলে গেছিলাম। ওখানে একটা কোম্পানিতে ছিলাম সৌদি বাজার, ওই কোম্পানিতে আমি কাজ করি। কাজ করার পরে অল্প বেতনে আমি কাজ করতেছি। ওখানে আমার পোষায় না, বাড়িতে টাকাও পাঠাতে পারি না। আমি একটা টেনশনে পড়ে গেছি। যাওয়ার পরে ওখান থেকে কোম্পানি থেকে আমি বের হয়ে গেছি। বাইরে একটা কোম্পানিতে কাজ করতেছি। ওই দেশের পুলিশ আমাকে অ্যারেস্ট করার পরে আমাকে বাংলাদেশে পাঠায়। আসলে আমি জানতাম না বিদেশে এত কষ্টের, এত ঝামেলা। এখন আমি বুঝি, জেনে না শুনে আমি ওই দেশে চলে গেছি। আমার উচিত ছিল আমি জেনে শুনে কোনো কাজ করে কর্ম নিয়ে আমি ওখানে যাওয়ার দরকার ছিল। আমি যে কাজটা করছি এটা আমি অনেক ভুল করছি। ভুল করে আমি সৌদি আরবে গেছি। এখন আমি জানি যে আসলে আমার ভুলের কারণে আমার এই সমস্যাটা হয়েছে।
मेरा नाम फ़खर लियाकत डोगर है। तेड़ा गांव है मेरा, लाहौर में, पाकिस्तान लाहौर में ना मेरा गांव है, वाघा बॉर्डर वाली साइड पे। तो इस वक्त मैं तुर्की इस्तांबुल में अपनी ज़िंदगी बसर कर रहा हूँ। वीज़ा के लिए मैंने सबसे पहले ना एजेंट से रब्ता किया, क्योंकि मुझे मालूम नहीं था। एजेंट ने मुझको बोला कि अगर अर्जेंट वीज़ा चाहोगे तो इस तरह पैसे लगेंगे, ये हो, अगर तुम फ़ाइल बनाकर वीज़ा अप्लाई करना चाहो तो ये होगा। तो मैंने मुनासिब ये समझा कि फ़ाइल बनवाता हूँ, इससे देखता हूँ कि वीज़ा लगवाने का प्रोसीजर क्या है। इसलिए मैंने फ़ाइल बनाई, मैंने एम्बेसी के अंदर जाकर खुद वीज़ा अप्लाई किया। 17,000 कुछ पैसे एक वीज़े की फ़ीस थी, जिसके मैंने, मेरी फैमिली भी थी और मैं भी था, हमने वो फ़ीसें जमा करवाई हैं। मैंने अपने मुकम्मल डॉक्यूमेंट्स जो हैं वो मैंने इकट्ठे किए, जिनमें बच्चों के स्कूल के सर्टिफिकेट वगैरह, बेफाम, पासपोर्ट, उनकी वो क्या उसको बोलते हैं, जमन पर्ची जिसे कहा जाता है, डेट ऑफ बर्थ की जो होती है, वो जितने भी डॉक्यूमेंट्स थे मैंने वो अपने इकट्ठे किए। और मैंने वो सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स जो है ना वो फ़न फेयर के ऑफिस से तस्दीक करवाए और मैंने वीज़ा अप्लाई किया। सिंपली सी वीज़ा अप्लाई किया मैंने, और अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मेरा वीज़ा लग गया।
Of course, there are many other voices and different stories. We heard now from only 3, but different stories. So I wish to turn to my speakers immediately and discuss with them how we can integrate migrants' voices in our policy making and programming of interventions. To begin with, I am delighted to be joined by Francesco Luciani. Francesco, you are an official of the European Commission and you've been working in different capacities in the European Commission now for more than 20 years. First in the Directorate-General in charge of Home Affairs, responsible for EU's relations with several countries in migration matters, including the Cyprus countries and Turkey too. Afterwards, you were in the cabinet of Home Affairs Commissioner Avramopoulos, advising him on visa policy, readmission of irregular migrants, and on the overall cooperation on migration with countries outside the EU. And since last year, you have been in the Directorate-General in charge of development cooperation, head of unit responsible for cooperation with developing countries, again in the area of migration, forced displacement, employment, vocational and educational training. So you had the migrants, and we are saying migration is high on the agenda, at the top of the EU agenda, and a new pact on migration and asylum has been adopted. But let us be more specific. Where exactly is migration on the agenda in the EU? Do we hear these voices from migrants? And how does this translate into action, in particular in cooperation with countries outside the European Union? Difficult questions. We don't hear you.
I hope you can hear me. Okay. No. But first of all, many thanks to ICMPD for this invitation. It's a pleasure for me to contribute to this conference, to the Vienna Migration Conference, as a speaker, and I would like to say good evening to all the audience, and also to Mr. Kashif Noor, with whom we are doing this conversation. And thank you for reminding me my past, but let me also stress that I started in the delegation of the European Union. I mean, I started in Chad, I started in Ukraine, and very close and attached also psychologically to working in the field, and also particularly in countries that are important origin countries of migration. Migration is very high, of course, in the agenda of the European Commission. And the fact that the Commission has issued on the 23rd of September the new EU Pact on Migration and Asylum witnesses very clearly the importance that this has for the Commission and for the European Union in general. Let me say a few words about the pact. This is probably useful also for the general audience. The pact is composed by a number of various documents. Some of them are proposals for legal reforms, and others are more political documents. So there is in particular a document, the communication, that is the document that I would encourage everyone interested in the topic to read, because it brings together all the aspects. it has many proposals inside, proposal by the Commission that now will have to be accepted by the Member States in the Council and at the European Parliament. There is an internal dimension where the main focus is the solidarity among Member States in addressing a certain number of challenges in the migration and asylum. And the German presidency is really showing determination to make progress in these proposals, in the approval of these proposals. And then there is an external dimension that concerns the cooperation with partner countries that are partners of origin, of transit of migration, but also partner countries of destination, because we also consider very important for us the countries that host the bulk of refugees across the world. Many of them really are playing a very important role. By the way, Pakistan, the country of Mr. Noor, is one of them. And we know it, and we work already together, and we also provide our support to host countries. What I can say in 2 words? The external dimension is proposing to continue the approach that we have been having since already some years, with the idea to engage our partner countries in a very comprehensive and balanced manner. We don't want, of course, we care a lot about preventing irregular migration and promoting the readmission of irregular migrants, but we don't speak only about this, and we understand that this is not just the topic on which everything should be focused. We know that we need to have mutually benefiting partnership with our countries that are friends of us in addressing this common challenge. So we need to find a balanced approach where both sides' interests and values will be satisfied. And this approach is not new. I mean, we have been working already on this since many years, and in the context of the dialogue of cooperation that are most of the cases ongoing, we indeed speak about everything. I mean, including the protection of refugees, about promoting legal migration opportunities, about the positive impact, how to promote the positive impact of migration, including diasporas, remittances for development. And we speak, of course, about border management, prevention of irregular migration, return and admission, but also we speak a lot about migrants' rights. And all these aspects are addressed comprehensively by the EU in the cooperations that it does with the partner countries. Let me just flag a couple of points where indeed you can find the innovative aspects and character of the new EU Pact on Migration and Asylum. I may flag particularly, I would say, 2. First of all, we intend to work more effectively in promoting the fight against migrant smuggling. And therefore, we intend to define more structured forms of cooperation with the partner countries. It's also in their interest because smuggling is frequently connected with trafficking, and smuggling is in general a criminal phenomenon that is also dangerous for the countries of origin and transit. And the second aspect is also that we wanted to expand the legal pathways, including labor migration, student mobility, and also resettlement of refugees towards the EU. We believe this is a form of partnership that is very important for the countries of origin and transit. At the same time, this is also useful for the European Union because indeed we need to attract also talents, and it's very important also to have an open approach towards the world. This will enrich us for sure. In that context, we also are ready to work, let me add a third aspect, maybe of relevance, in promoting the return of those that don't want or cannot stay in the EU. But we want to do this in a sustainable manner, I mean, by providing assistance for the reintegration into the countries of origin and for ensuring that their talents and their resources their capacities are put at the contribution of the development of the origin communities. So in that context, and with this I conclude, I mean, the pact promotes really the possibility of dialogue cooperation with all partner countries. And in all the aspects, it implies working more and together with also the migrants communities.
Thank you, Francesco. I have one question to add on to that, but I would like to ask you to be very brief. So with this agenda now and with this pact, how do you ensure that migrants' voices are included, are heard in this agenda setting and programming? How do you ensure participatory planning in this respect?
Of course, I mean, it's a challenging fact. I mean, the idea to involve everyone, because we are speaking indeed having in front of us complex communities. I mean, the Commission proposals addresses to 27 member states and more than 500 million EU citizens. But indeed, we are ready also to work and involve with migrants and refugees in Europe and across the world. I cannot define just a single aspect that could give you the overall sense of what we can do. But I can mention a certain number of facts. I will try to be brief, but I mean, to give concrete examples, let me mention, for instance, the approach that we are following in the Silk Routes countries that is certainly close and dear to ICMPD that work with us in that respect. For instance, let me mention the fact that we are very close to the migrants in all the things we do. For instance, we don't work just with national authorities. We produce and promote structures that are close to the migrants themselves. For instance, let me start by the fact that the project Improving Migration Management in the Silk Route countries, for instance, implemented by ICMPD, this is already, for instance, something that is producing, for instance, migrant resource centers that are structures that help directly the migrants to have orientation, to have information, and to find their way, and that also allow us to have their feedback on what they need and what they expect, and how we can better help them. And this is not just done, for example, only in Pakistan, but also in other countries across the Silk Route. This approach is also used, for instance, in Iraq, and also in Bangladesh, as well as in Afghanistan. And to give an example, is going to be expanded further also in Tajikistan. We plan to have one soon. Another aspect, another form of cooperation is our support with the diasporas. For instance, the EU has launched the Global Diaspora Facility, through which we want to enhance the diaspora engagement with the partner countries for the development of their countries of origin. Of course, I mean, this is also something on which we need to engage at the same time national authorities, because also they have to benefit from this advice and support. It's not always easy, and we don't pretend that the diasporas to be parliaments abroad. I mean, they have also a number of limitations that are linked to the specific experience of the migrants. But nevertheless, we are engaging with them. We have meetings with them. We listen to them. Finally, also, we have other forms of engagement. There are consultations in some cases. But in some cases also there are systems to track their actual choice, because migrants are those who sometimes vote with their feet, as has been said. I mean, by the choice they make, by the travel, the route they take, we understand better what makes them decide to leave, what then makes decide to return, why going to a certain country rather than another one. This choice is made, and this is very important. So we have also projects to track their choices. For instance, with IOM, we have the REMAP, a project, Regional Evidence for Migration Analysis and Policy, that try really to stay close to the communities and look at their vulnerabilities and to track their movement and to understand where do migrants go and why they make certain choices. And also we have other projects, for instance, in Bangladesh, to see the returning migrants, what kind of vulnerabilities they have. This implies already speaking with them.
Thank you, Francesco. Okay.
I will stop there, but just to say that also in the time of COVID, all this needs to be further increased because the world has become extremely more complex. Sorry for being so long.
Thank you. I know that with you, but you have shared some good examples there, and I think we'll be seeing a video afterwards from a migrant who has been to a migrant resource center. But now, in order to get the perspective from a country of origin, which is at the same time a country of destination and transit, I am delighted to welcome Mr. Kashif Noor. Kashif, you have more than 20 years of experience in the public sector, and since 2016 in your capacity as Director-General of the Bureau of Emigration and Overseas Employment in Pakistan. I know you are talking with migrants every day, but you're also, of course, in charge of the operations and administration of policies in relation to overseas employment promotion, and you're advising the federal government of Pakistan on immigration policies and procedures. So I would like to know from you, Kashif, how is your government in Pakistan communicating with its people in the country who may be making their own migration plans, but also with its citizens and a big diaspora population we're talking about here. It's many citizens outside of the country and also with those returning back to Pakistan. What are your messages to your people when it comes to migration, and what do you hear back?
Thank you, Sedef. Thank you for your kind words. A very good evening to Mr. Francesco. It was very heartening to hear what he has been doing and what they plan to do. Starting from how do we communicate? We used to communicate only through the missions abroad, but since the last few years, with the digital platforms kicking in, the social media coming in, now it is literally, a global village. We get a video from a group struck at Dubai airport or somewhere else, and we have to react. We have to move our ambassador, we have to request our attaches to go and help them. So it's, the things have become really fast, really quick, and really hands-on. You must be aware that Prime Minister of Pakistan launched a portal wherein any citizen, a Pakistani citizen, anywhere in the world or in Pakistan, they can lodge a complaint, they can share something, they can give a suggestion, they can give a feedback. More than 3.5 million such feedback, suggestions, and complaints have come in, and we have to act on them. We have to respond to suggestions, we have to resolve the complaints. Everything has a timeline associated with it. All the ministries have been directed to have their own portals, have their own digital platforms available, especially our ministry, because most of our clients are abroad, with almost 9 million of our diaspora abroad. This is the quickest and the cheapest way of communicating with them. And we've been using it very, very effectively. We get emails, we get Facebook messages, we got WhatsApp messages, Twitter tweets. We get on Instagram, on chats, everything is happening and we respond to them. I've got a team of officers and officials actively engaged on social media. Second part of your question is how do we talk to people who are coming back? Again, the first point of contact is our mission abroad. But lately, once that corona pandemic hit, we launched a portal for the returning migrant workers so that we can register them and capture data in 18 fields and then share that data with the relevant organizations to help them in financial inclusion when they come back home, to help them in getting jobs abroad if they are interested in going abroad and things ease up in the world, to help them in getting social protection and to get them their rights if anything is left behind, some dues, to help them get that as well. So far, we have registered more than 75,000 people on that platform as well. And we intend to keep that platform up and running in future. This pandemic is going to go away, hopefully very soon, but the workers would keep on coming and going, and this platform would keep serving them. I only give one message to people who want to make a migration plan, that go for safe and legal migration. We've been engaged with them when it comes to pre-departure phase, the departure phase, and the post-arrival phase. We've been working closely with MRC in Pakistan, 2 of their centers, to help them in pre-decision phase, to go to their villages, to their towns, to help them in pre-decision phase, so that once they have made up their decision, it's less likely that somebody is going to listen to you. Like this migrant worker said that he was being lured by an agent in the video that you showed, but he went for a legal route. It's a very sensible approach, but unfortunately, once you've been lured in, it's very difficult to go on the legal route. Coming to what do I hear back from the migrant workers? I hear everything. What happened to them, how they were treated, how in Pakistan, on their way to their destination country, during their jobs, how they were treated by the citizens there, because as you said, that I deal with them on a daily basis. I have a few judicial powers, so I conduct hearings to and try and redress their grievances, get them their dues, if any are left, or if somebody has cheated them, to get them their money back. So I hear all kinds of stories. I hear all kinds of, they share all kinds of experiences. It's rewarding, it's enriching, as well as at the same time, I think that it's something that you're trying to help a poor soul. A migrant worker who is abroad is mostly left to the mercy of, forces which are beyond his control or her control. So we have to help them in each and every possible way. And I fully agree with what Francesco said, that we have to show them the right path, how to get there. And it's very important that the governments on both sides talk, and organizations like ICMPD play their part in it. ILO, ICMPD, they have to play their part in making the governments talk for the rights of the migrant workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashif. We had a video also, but I think we're not going to show it anymore because we're heading towards the end of this session, from a migrant who has visited a migrant resource center. But I would now like to move immediately to my final questions. Maybe I'll start with Francesco again. Francesco, given the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on migration and mobility from the Silk Route region, you've touched upon legal pathways for migration and the need for having more comprehensive, balanced migration partnerships. How is the Commission factoring this impact, the COVID-19 impact, into its cooperation with countries such as Pakistan?
I think the challenges generated by the COVID-19 pandemic are well known, and they have been clearly identified as addressing not simply, the health conditions of the population, but also having an impact on the socio-economic situation in all countries, and including inside of the EU, as it is clearly known. And of course, migrants and refugees, as well as the countries of origin and transit of those migrants and refugees, have been directly affected, and very strongly. And therefore, we have seen, indeed, first of all, worsening conditions in the countries, but at the same time, a stronger difficulty to leave those countries in a normal labor migration, because indeed there were travel restrictions and reduced possibilities of work in the normal destination countries. At the same time, the situation has become also particularly difficult for migrants in transit countries, because there they used to they started to find even more complex situation, and in some cases they were forced to or found expedient to return back home, which they could do all with a lot of difficulties, and in order to without really having all the support they needed. The European Commission, together with the member states, in an approach that has been called the Team Europe approach, has mobilized all its capacities and resources to provide support not just internally to the EU citizens, but also to the partner countries of the EU, and has indeed done its best to provide this support also to migrant refugees. But the approach that we choose was not to single out the migrants and refugees, because we don't forget that migrants and refugees are part and live together with, and therefore depend also on the capacities of the host country. So we have, in general terms, provided huge support to our partner countries by moving funds or increasing funds to them. And in that context, we also insisted with the beneficiary countries to ensure access to the assistance provided by the EU, also to all vulnerable categories of persons, including migrants and refugees. To give an example, I mean, for the Islamic Republic of Pakistan,
I need to ask you to be brief, very brief.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, we provided a figure of 139 million euros. In conclusion, I mean, we are going to mainstream, certainly, migration in all the assistance we're going to give to partner countries on COVID. And of course, we are going to work on the reconstruction of post-COVID in the context of our next multi-annual financial framework that will start next year.
Thank you, Francesco. Kashif, I would like to also ask you from another perspective the same question. What do you expect from the European Union in this respect? And also, if you could touch upon the three perhaps main needs that migrants have in terms of, or what do we, what are the three main things which need to happen for policymakers to hear the voices of migrants and react to their needs?
Thank you. I would like EU to concentrate more on safe and legal migration. The opportunity is there. As long as somebody sees the opportunity, he's going to go for it. If we don't provide it in a legal way, he's going to go the illegal route. Fortunately or unfortunately for us, my top policy maker, my prime minister, is a migrant himself, and he takes pride in calling himself that he has remained a migrant. My minister, again, is a migrant. So as far as my country is concerned, there's a lot of focus on migrants, on the overseas Pakistanis. Today, our Prime Minister has announced that he is working to bring in legislation to provide them a right to vote in the elections, next elections. So three main things that we have picked up is to create awareness, to have them connected, and to put in a feedback and complaint mechanism for them. This is what we've been working on. This is what we've been told to work on, and this is our priority. And my request to EU would be to do something about this so that we create safe and legal opportunities for the migrants.
Thank you, Kashif. We heard it also in the high-level panel today, earlier today, that legal migration, creating legal pathways for migration is something at the center of attention right now for countries outside of the EU, but it does appear to be very challenging area. Let's look into the future to see how this can be made. I would like to thank, unfortunately we have to stop now because we have run out of time. I would like to thank our speakers for their insights and sharing their experiences, and I would also like to thank the audience, of course, for joining us in this late hour. It has been an eventful second day of the Vienna Migration Conference 2020, in which we tried to cover a range of fascinating topics. We hope to see you again tomorrow on day 3 of the conference. We will be starting at 9 a.m. Central European Time with another focus session looking at community and private sponsorship of refugees, so what potential is there for scaling up resettlement in Europe. And we invite you to share your thoughts and insights from today using the hashtag ViennaMigConf. Thank you very much again for joining me this evening. Have a good evening, and if you want to stay on and watch the video we had with a migrant visiting a migrant resource center, please stay on and enjoy it. Thank you. Have a good evening.
اور وہ آ کے یہاں پہ لیکچرز ڈیلیور کرتے تھے اور انفارمیشن دیتے تھے اس حوالے سے کہ لیگل طریقہ کون سا ہے باہر جانے کا اور انلیگل طریقہ کون سا. مجھے ان کے لیکچر سے انفارمیشن ملی کہ OEC جو ادارہ ہے وہاں پہ جابس آتی رہتی ہیں. میں نے وہاں پہ ان کی ویب سائٹ چیک کرنا شروع کی. جب وہاں پہ جابس آئیں تو اس میں قرآن اندازی والا سلسلہ تھا. تو میں نے MRC سے رابطہ کیا اور میں نے ان سے یہ بات پوچھی کہ آیا کہ یہ جو جابس آئی ہیں OEC میں کوریا کے لیے, وہاں پہ یہ اوریجنل ہے یا فیک ہیں. تو انہوں نے مجھے مکمل گائیڈ لائن دی کہ یہ بالکل اوریجنل ہیں. میں نے پھر ان سے پوچھا کہ میں اس میں اپلائی کر دوں, رجسٹریشن کروا دوں.
تو اس کو ہم نے یہ مشورہ دیا کہ وہ سب سے پہلے OEC کے ساتھ اپنی رجسٹریشن کروائے. تو ہم نے اس کو یہ بھی گائیڈ کیا کہ OEC لینگویج کا کورس بھی کرواتا ہے اور وہ اپنی رجسٹریشن وہاں پہ کروا لیں.
انہوں نے مجھے بہت اچھی گائیڈ لائن دی اور جس کی وجہ سے ابھی میرا ان پروسیس ہے ورک کوریا والا, اور وہ انشاءاللہ ان قریب ہو جائے گا.
جو اویئرنیس ہے MRC کی, اس سے یہ بینیفٹ خالی یہ نہیں ہوتا کہ ہمارے جو اسٹوڈنٹس ہیں ان کو آگاہی ہوگی. اب ہر سیشن میں اگر 1000 کے قریب اگر بچوں کو اویئرنیس ملے گی تو 1000 کا مطلب خالی ٹرین ہی نہیں ہے, 1000 کا مطلب یہ 1000 فیملیز ہیں.